Okay, so good evening, everyone. My name is Cynthia Loesch-Johnson, and I'm president of the Codman Square Neighborhood Council. Thank you so much for being with us this evening. We know we all have so much going on, so much is happening in the world, but we really appreciate you taking a moment to join us for these meetings, learn about all of the things taking place in the community, share information, and then, of course, bring all of this information to your friends, your families, your neighbors. We are still meeting via Zoom. We assessed the group last time, and there was a lot of interest to kind of move back to in person. But then we looked at the numbers, we know we're in a surge, and so we're still kind of navigating what that will look like. So hopefully in July, we'll be meeting in person, maybe outside and in a space where everyone is comfortable. But we did decide that moving forward, there will be like a hybrid model once we are ready to go back to in person. I miss you all. I wish I could see you all in person. So hopefully we get there soon. Here at the Codman Square Neighborhood Council, while we're meeting virtually, these meetings are recorded, so keep that in mind. And then we post the meetings onto our YouTube page. So if you're not familiar with the page, here it is. Make sure you subscribe. The meeting will be posted there within a few days after this evening so that you can continue to share the information with your friends and family. This is the agenda for the evening. We might have to jump around a bit, but we'll make sure we cover it all. And as you all know, we like to start on time and end on time. With that, I just want to give a quick shout out to the Codman Square Neighborhood Council board. If you're on already, raise your hand or wave or say hello. I just want to really thank them for all of the work that they do year round to make these meetings possible. And of course, all of the community events that we put on and making sure that the community has a voice in Codman Square. And I'll put the website in the chat so you guys can get a better feel of who our 11 board members are and our 11 affiliate members are. And with that said, I want to jump right into our agenda. Let me just see if Melissa is on. And if she's not on yet, we'll start with, okay, before I hand it off to the police, on both District C11 and B3 side, I just want to show you here that the wonderful board that I was speaking of, we had a board retreat in May. We were able to meet in person and via Zoom for those that weren't able or weren't comfortable. And that was our first test run doing the hybrid model, and it went pretty well. You know, we're learning the best practices on how to make it successful, but it was a great time. We reviewed the history of the Codman Square community, the Codman Square Council, and started to plan for the future. So stay tuned for future months to hear more on what some of our plans are. And with that said, I'll now hand it off to Officer Keaney in C11.
Thank you very much. I only have one thing to tell you about, which is a wonderful thing. But first of all, I do want to apologize for last month. Crazy circumstances. I was working overtime in South Boston during the day tour last month before your meeting. And unfortunately, I was the one who got the call. You all may remember the partial floor collapse at the Edison plant where guys were trapped and lost a couple of limbs. Right. And that was my call. So I was on scene until after 8 o'clock at night, and then I had to write all my reports. So I apologize. It's a crazy thing that happens. It doesn't happen very often, but unfortunately it did. So that's why I wasn't at your meeting last month. Sorry about that. As I said, I only have one thing of note to tell you about on the C11 side of things, and that's fantastic. And that occurred on May 25th. We got a call about 6:50 p.m. For a person with a knife inside of Wainwright Park. Officers stopped the 17-year-old teenager who matched the description. While he was still inside of Wainwright Park, and one pocket was a large knife and the other was a stun gun. He stated that he needed that to protect his girlfriend, who called him for him to meet her down there because she saw a couple of people from school that wanted to fight her, and she needed some backup. So that's what we showed up with. He was summoned to Dorchester District Court for unlawful possession of a stun gun, because no juvenile can possess these things. And that was pretty much it. couple days before that, we did have a stabbing that was domestic violence related around the corner on Wainwright Street. The new boyfriend stabbed the ex-boyfriend outside of 25 Wainwright. Other than that, we had a couple of calls for shots fired, which on Washington Street, but both times it turned out to be firecrackers. So that's what I have for you on the C11 side of things for the last month. So whatever you're doing, keep it up.
We're trying. Thank you, Officer Keaney, and thank you for sharing the update as to why we missed you last month. That's so unfortunate. Are there questions for the C11 side? No?
No, okay. And just one little update close by you. There was a gentleman who was assaulted and robbed as he was going into the Shawn T station. And I believe there's been 4 juveniles, the MBTA, arrested for that assault. These are the same kids that were going down to Downtown Crossing and in the Commons and causing trouble in there. And the T did a really good job. They got a great system in there with their pictures and so forth. And so we did have, they had 4 arrests for that assault.
Understood. Other questions or comments before I move on to B3?
Hey, Officer Keaney, this is Jeff Johnson. How you doing?
Okay,
I do have a question, and this is from the meeting that you missed last month. There was a shooting at the intersection of Wainwright and I believe it's Lithgow. Is that correct? The street that's across from the park. And I believe it happened around like 5 or 6 in the morning. Is there any update on that incident?
Well, let's see if you can, if I can bring up when that might have been. Hold on a second.
Thanks for raising that, Jeff. I think Amy was going to ask about that one too, or Melissa.
Nothing to look at. Let me look at Wainwright.
If not, maybe you could get back to Jeff regarding that matter. Oh, there's a comment in the chat. Melissa is asking, is there a plan?
Yeah, that was on May 1st at 5:20 in the morning. Let's see, we responded for radar call for shot spotter activation at 15 Wainwright. Shot spotter picked up 7 shots in the area. Excuse me. We did find 6 ballistic casings at Lithgow and Wainwright. We did have a woman who said that someone had fired a couple shots into her apartment. They did see a round that entered through a dining room window and penetrated the ceiling. We checked all the residents on all 3 floors at 64 Lithgow, and they were in good physical, mental condition. No one came forward to say that they were in fact being fired upon. This is being handled by one of our day detectives, Officer Kelly. I don't see any arrests though that were made. Hold on one second, please. No, just that they ended up getting the piece of ballistics from one of the beams in the house. But that's the only update that I have on that.
Okay.
Okay, sorry about that.
Thank you, Officer Keaney. Those incidents are more and more rare in this area, so I know the residents are trying to be on top of it, so thank you. Melissa had a comment in the chat. Is there a plan for any type of patrol, bike, foot, or otherwise for Wainwright Park over the summer? There have already been a lot of situations.
I'm not aware of anything specific other than the bikes doing what they've done the last 2-3 years, which is go to different hotspots and being a presence. I'm sure that Wainwright will be one of them. Probably Codman Square, Bailey and Dot, near the Ashmont T Station. I know they spent a lot of time there last year. We've had some problems lately at Hemingway Park, so I'm sure they're going to be making an appearance up there. We got 3 guns out of Hemingway Park on Monday afternoon. So it's heating up over there on Adams Street. But I'll definitely let the captain know. Oh, and that's another thing I wanted to let you know. We do have a new commander at District 11. Captain McLaughlin went to West Roxbury. We now have Captain Shawn Burns here at District 11. He comes over from East Boston, where he was the commander there for a couple of years.
Excellent. Please let the captain know. We'd love to have him at the community meeting.
I know once people start meeting in person, I know he wants to make almost every meeting that he can.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
But I will let him know.
I appreciate it. Look forward to hearing from you next month.
God willing.
We'll now move on to B3. Is Officer Harris on?
Yes, I am. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
All right. Good evening, everybody. For your public safety report for this month, there were 13 calls for your catchment area that generated a police report. I'll give you a quick breakdown. So there were 7 all other offenses, 1 aggravated assault, 1 accident, 2 simple assaults, and 2 vandalisms. There were 2 reports of note that I wanted to go over. Really, there was 3. On the third one, I'm just gonna give you some very little information about that, but I think it's something, people need to be made aware of. About 3:32 p.m. on Thursday, May 19th, officers responded for a verbal disturbance at 25 Dunbar Avenue, the Lee Academy. There was a parent that had went into the school and was behaving in a very threatening and menacing manner to one of the teachers. They ended up calling the police. We were able to defuse the situation. Ultimately, this is something that has happened in the past. I guess there's some issues where allegations were made. Teachers are mandatory reporters, and the mother was very upset. So the school gave her multiple chances, but this time they finally had to issue a no trespass order. So if she goes back, then it won't be the same result as someone just escorting her out of the school as what happened this time. And there was another incident. Concerned parent had walked into the front desk at C11, even though this took place over on B3. Mother went to pick up her son from Tech Boston. He came running towards her, was crying, was very upset, stating that he had been shot. Mother looked him over, realized it was a BB gun. He knows who the suspect is, and detectives are following up on that as well. The third one of note that I wanted to go over, I'm not going to give any dates or times. Student went home complaining to her mother that she had been inappropriately touched by another student at Tech Boston. So that's what I have for you guys. What I can tell you, and these are just some general statistics as well. At this time of the year for 2021, 246 guns have been removed from the streets of Boston. Thus far this year, and I can tell you this number is a little off because I was actually at the call at Elizabeth and Astoria Street, where 7 guns were retrieved from 1 911 call. So this number is probably somewhere closer to 250 by now. But thus far it stands at least at 236 until those numbers are updated.
Thank you.
Yes, and so, pretty much, with the same thing, make sure that you lock your doors, especially your car doors. There's still a lot of larcenies from motor vehicles that are going on. I'm sure by now everyone's probably has subscribed to the Ring neighborhood app, and you're seeing nothing but porch pirates, porch pirates, porch pirates. If you can, I know it's an inconvenience, but see if there's a local hub in your neighborhood where you can have your packages delivered to that spot, where you can go and pick those packages up at your earliest convenience. And that's all I have for you guys this month. If anyone has any questions, concerns, or compliments, by all means, please feel free to throw them my way.
Excellent. Any questions, comments, concerns, or compliments for Officer Harris on the B3 side? As a reminder, C11 is Washington Street and then east going towards Dorchester Ave, and B3 is Washington Street, well, behind Washington Street and going west towards Blue Hill.
Okay, given the shrunken budget that you guys got, you guys are doing a good job.
A compliment.
I appreciate, and that was Kid Bro Steve.
Right.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. You know, we're doing the best, you know, with what we have. But, you know, a lot of the credit goes to community organizations such as yours that has no problem reaching out to us and, you know, making the 911 calls, you know, that we stress just how important it is to make those calls. We can't be everywhere. But if you let us know where there are particular hot spots, generating that 911 call helps us to devote what resources we do have, whereas we can shift some of those resources to that area. So thank you, sir.
You're welcome. And I'm glad you guys are on the Ring.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's a big
The
deal.
app is addictive.
Tell me about it.
Any other questions, comments, concerns, or compliments for B3, Officer Harris? If not, thank you so much. We appreciate your update and we look forward to hearing from you next month.
Absolutely. And I'm going to remain on the meeting. I'm going to mute myself. If anyone has any questions later, by all means, please put it into the chat.
We really appreciate that.
No problem.
Moving along in the agenda, we'll now hear from one of our very own board members. Melissa's going to talk about the Love Your Block event that we recently had last month.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Melissa. I'm part of the board, and I'm just here to talk about our Love Your Block event that we had last month. It was really a great event. We were able to clean up and spread some mulch around Dr. Loesch Park, and we were all out there. It was a chilly day, but we still made it work. And if y'all have a chance to go out to the park, you can still see the work that we did. It was a great community event, and definitely encourage anyone who's interested in joining us next year to absolutely try to reach out to us before sometime in May in 2023. So it was a great event. You see, and these are photos of us with the mulch, and little JJ there was helping as well. So it's absolutely a family event. So anyone of all different ages can come.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Any questions for Melissa about the annual cleanup, Love Your Block with the Codman Square Neighborhood Council at either Codman Square Park or Dr. Loesch Family Park? No? Well, it was a lot of fun. So thank you so much, Melissa.
No problem.
And is Kristina on?
Yes.
Excellent. We have Kristina. She's going to give us an update from the Bold Teens.
So hello. We are starting up our Common Square Farmers Markets again. So as you see, we're starting July 16th to October 8th, Saturdays from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Common Square Park. We are also having our movie nights at the Dr. Loesch Family Park which will be held on Friday night, starting July 9th through the end of August. For both those events, please spread the word and get more people out to get some fresh food and to bring the community together. And lastly, the Bold Teens will also be collaborating with the Dorchester YMCA and Project Bread to distribute summer meals at the Common Square Library with all their friends at the library this summer.
This is great. This is a slide here of photos from movie night at Dr. Loesch Family Park. It's that same park that you heard about recently with Officer Keaney, Wainwright Park. But we love on this park, and we've done such a great job transforming this space. So I am personally so grateful that we'll have movie night screen on the green at this park. And I want to thank the Bold Teens. I see in the chat that others are really happy that there'll be movie night too. I see Melissa says, yay, movie nights. Oh, I'm going the wrong way. But I want to just take a second and go back to the farmers market. So if you guys don't know, we're going into our 15th season. We've been having the Codman Square Farmers Market at the Codman Square Park for 15 years. Well, we started at the health center, but for 14 years, we've been at the Codman Square Park. And we have a phenomenal team. We have a really great market manager, Catherine Charles. We have the Bold Teens. Kristina is one of them. Thank you so much, Kristina, for your leadership. Last year, they had 16 different themes at the farmers market. Here are examples of some of them, whether it was National Farmers Market Week, focusing on Black-owned businesses, focusing on authors, back to school, where more than 400 backpacks were distributed to the community. More than 50 organizations participated in the farmers market season, more than 60 vendors, bringing all variety of items to the market, but especially farm fresh food, and more than $100,000 worth of farm fresh organic produce brought into our community through this farmers market. So Kristina's, brushing over it like it's just, a normal little market, but this is really an amazing resource for our community. And we're so grateful that we have such a great team putting this on for us every year. So this will be our 15th season. Make sure you get out there Saturdays, 11 to 2, Codman Square Park, July through October. Any questions about the Codman Square Farmers Market? Or the movie nights? Kristina, how will you guys decide which movies will be played?
I was just gonna ask that.
So how we did it last year was in the beginning, like our first Friday, we made a list of all the movies. And at the end of each movie, we said what the movie was next week. Just so if somebody didn't want to come and watch the movie, they're able to know what the movie is beforehand.
So do you take requests? Like, can we submit the movies we'd like to see played in the chat?
Yes, of course, yes.
Oh, we have a vote for Encanto. That's 2 votes.
We also give out snacks. It's all completely free, but we do take donations.
Excellent. Well, we really appreciate you activating this park into the wee hours of the night on a Friday night. It really makes a difference for our community. It's not just fun and good vibes, but it's also keeping the park safe. So we appreciate it. Any other questions for Kristina or the Bold Teens? Oh, I did want to do one other thing. Can you just remind us about your survey? Kristina?
All right, repeat that. Sorry, I was reading the.
Remind everyone on the meeting about your survey.
So yes, this is the Merchants District survey. So basically a brief explanation of this survey is that it's just a quick 60-second survey, just asking the community what they want to see more in the community. So about the 3 fast foods in Common Square, and we just want to add more healthier options like sit-in restaurants, a bakery. So the survey is just basically asking the community, including them in decisions on what they want to see.
Great. Can you put that, sir? Oh, well, everyone, you can use your cameras and use the QR code, but if not, can you also put that survey in the chat, Kristina? That would be great. Okay, any questions about all of that? It's really wonderful to see young people taking a leadership role, working to improve the health of the community, creating safe spaces, transforming our diet. You guys know the importance of the farmers market. Our major health inequities are diabetes type 2 and obesity. We are eating ourselves to death because, like Kristina said, we have limited access to healthy food options. So the farmers market is our effort to bring in healthier food options, but also there's an entire campaign to change the built environment so that our merchants district can look like other merchants districts and we have more variety and healthier options. So take the survey, support the teams, and get involved. If there are no questions, I'm going to talk about the Codman Square Park briefly before we move on in the agenda. Is that okay with everyone? Thumbs up, yes. Remember, this is your meeting. You can interrupt me as often as you need. Okay, let's talk about the Codman Square Park. I see a thumbs up. Thanks, Amy. Show of hands, thumbs up, wave. If you've been to the Codman Square Park, if you're familiar with this space, it's at the corner of Washington and Talbot Ave. This is not how the park looks presently. This is just some of the visioning that we have been doing to create a brand new space here or an enhanced space. So when I say visioning, what do I mean? Yes, a few of us gathered around and said, we want the Codman Square Park to be different, to feel different, to offer us more. Historically, the space was really just used for the farmers market for the past 15 years. The Neighborhood Development Corporation would have their annual meeting in the space once a year. And then there'd be a few events here or there, but for the most part, this space was underutilized. And so we were trying to figure out how to activate this space. So here we are with some newsprint and some stickers and trying to figure out what our priorities are and what we want to see in this space. At this point, back in 2017, 2018, we're just visioning, you know, we're just residents trying to make a difference, trying to make a change, trying to make it look different. And so what happened from there? The energy started to grow. More people started to be interested. We started to get support from our merchants, our seniors, our young people, our different stakeholders in the community. C11 was actively involved in this effort. You could see some of the stakeholders here, other civic groups, people wanting to see this space used differently and used more. And so we started to create real goals on what we wanted to see at the Codman Square Park. And so we wanted, you know, a space that was intergenerational. It was attractive. It was interactive, low maintenance, of course. We want to see more green space, but then still creating space for everyone to enjoy the park in different ways. And so we started to have a lot of community meetings and engage in a real community process after we had reached out to the Brown Fund to secure design dollars for the Codman Square Park. So we reached out to the Brown Fund and said, we'd like to make this process real. And they actually gave us some funds to hire a landscape architect and an artist. The Brown Fund is really concerned about the art pieces. And as you saw from our visioning, we were really concerned about the art in the park as well. And so now we're having monthly Friends of the Park meetings. We're having a really extensive community process trying to figure out what the future of this park will be. And this is kind of a breakdown of some of the design process. We went from newsprint and stickers to identifying a landscape architect through a call for landscape architects. Many of us had never done that before. We went through a call for artists and we identified a local artist here in Codman Square. And you can just see the steps laid out of how we were able to legitimize this process to the point where we have real renderings, right? Like a real vision of what that space could look like. Can everyone hear me okay? I know I have some ambient noise in the back. Yes? And so I just wanted to take a moment and talk about where we are funding wise. In 2018, as I shared, we submitted an application for design funds for the Brown Fund. That kicked us off in legitimizing the process. We have real renderings. We have a landscape architect at the table. We were smart enough to always have the Boston Parks Department at the table from the beginning. And then we have an artist. In April of 2022, we learned we secured $640,000 in the capital plan. So now we're in the actual city's budget. And in 2020, we submitted an application for Community Preservation Act funds, and we were awarded $150,000. And in 2021, we submitted an application to the Brown Fund once again, but this time not for design dollars, but for implementation dollars. That's how far we've come. We're ready to start some implementation. And we're waiting to hear back from them regarding the 150. But it seems promising. I don't want to jinx us, but it seems promising because we've been able to secure so much of the funding for the space. So I just want to take a minute and really congratulate everyone that was a part of that visioning team that was meeting monthly, trying to figure out what this park could be, because we've come a very long way and made some real progress. So this design, this rendering, it's not final. It's just where we are at this point. We still have to go through another city process. We still have to figure out, what we have the funds for, what we can actually do with the funding that we have. So there is still a lot of time and space for you to get involved if you're like, I want to be a part of this. I want to be a part of the Friends in the Park. This is just an aerial view of some of the features. People wanted a performance stage. Of course, we wanted to secure our green space. I think the coolest feature here is that if you go to the park now, there's a fence here. It separates the Second Church parcel from the park parcel. We are removing that fence. We are creating a very large open space, and our partners at Second Church, Pastor Price and the entire team, has just been phenomenal in seeing the vision, being at the table, making something this transformative possible. You'll see vendor space here for the farmers market, rain garden. Of course, we have to make sure the church has adequate parking, lots of seating area. This is the parcel division here, so you can see where the church parcel ends and the park parcel begins. We're going to be playing around with that line a bit so that it can be a shared space. This is a placemaking art feature. If you think about that iconic Philadelphia sign, that's something that we want to see in Codman Square. This is kind of featuring the I Am Codman Square. Destiny Palmer was phenomenal at capturing all of the different cultures and the history of Codman Square. We're talking Native Americans that have been here for thousands of years, and then to the Puritans, to all the transitions that we've seen in the history of Codman Square, and then to the present day, the different cultures that we have. She was able to capture some of these patterns and weave them into the site and weave them into this art piece. You'll see some educational information about Codman Square. It's just so cool, some of the things that the group was able to come up with and still coming up with. So if you're interested in getting involved, if you like what you see, if you find this to be exciting, please let me know, because we want to make sure that everyone gets to be a part of this process. This is a centrally located space, right? This is right in the heart of Codman Square. And so what happens here is so important to all of us. It'll transform how we utilize our community. Any questions about all of that? It's a lot. Is anyone excited? No, yes, maybe. I hope you could all hear me. I was rambling for a while. So next steps. Oh, I see a celebration party hat here on the side. Some people are excited. So next steps would be to get involved. The Parks Department is ready to start convening meetings again. Barbara says she's very excited. We're going to bring the team back together. We were on a bit of a hiatus as we were navigating COVID and as we were figuring out what the Brown Fund's response would be for implementation dollars, because they were going through their own transitions. And so at this point, we're going to start meeting again with the artist, Destiny Palmer, with the landscape architect, Kyle Vick, with Kathy Baker Eclipse from the Parks Department, and with all of you and all of our friends of the Codman Square Park, so that we can start to figure out a timeline for when we are implementing the vision and also finalizing the plan. So this is a very exciting time. I want to thank everyone who was a part of it, who took the time to meet and vision and then figure out, how to secure capital dollars to renovate this space. So thank you so much. And if there are no other questions or comments about the Codman Square Park, I'm going to move along in the agenda. Okay. Up next, we have Miniard Culpepper, and he's running for the 2nd Suffolk State Senate. And I'm pretty sure he is still on here. I'm going to hand it off to him, and he'll let us know all about him and his campaign.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Codman Square Neighborhood Council. It's amazing to hear the plans for that park. Because I grew up in Dorchester. We played basketball at what was a while ago, the Girls Latin School, right next to the church. They used to open the school at night for us as teenagers to go into the school and play basketball there. So to see what you're doing in terms of Codman Square is just amazing. I just want to congratulate you for the commitment to make a difference in the Codman Square section of Dorchester. Just seeing that view of what you've drawn up is just amazing to see how far Codman Square has come. Thank you for having me tonight. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to come before you. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Miniard Culpepper. I'm running for the state senate in the 2nd Suffolk district. I grew up in Dorchester. I grew up on the corner of Algonquin Street and Harvard Street. And I was inspired from an early age by parents and grandparents who were active in the civil rights movement. I consider my parents, my grandparents, I consider them trailblazers because their spirit of activism and fighting for what was right was passed down to me. And my grandfather built Pleasant Hill Baptist Church. He founded Pleasant Hill Baptist Church in 1939. And he made a lot of good trouble in the city of Boston to make things happen for people of color years ago. I consider myself walking in his legacy of making good trouble. I'm a lawyer who followed the law and a minister who followed the Lord. My work as a federal housing attorney and my service as pastor has defined my life and my role in the community. I grew up, in fact, my first job in Dorchester, I was 16 years old, was at the Kentucky Fried Chicken at the corner of Washington Street and Park Street. And it's amazing to see, you know, when I graduated from Boston English High School, they let us out a semester. I was graduating a semester early. I taught at the school that was right behind Kentucky Fried Chicken. It's no longer there, but it was an elementary school. And one of the interesting things about that school, we came in, we taught the class. There was a kid in the class that came in every morning, and he was just angry, and no one could really get to him. Every morning, he was just angry. And I would bring my lunch to the school. One morning, I shared my lunch with him early. That young man ate that sandwich, had a great day. And one of the things that I learned was that he wasn't eating breakfast and he was coming to school angry and hungry. He was hungry. From that point on, they started serving breakfast there, and the young man changed his life. I say that because my life in Dorchester was defined by families supporting families. I went to Boston English High School. I went to Brandeis University. I got my law degree from Suffolk University. I went to Howard University Divinity School. And I'm a Dorchester. I'm a product of Dorchester. I know folks look at me and say, well, you know, look what comes out of Dorchester. Look who comes. I came out of Dorchester, Massachusetts, born in Boston, raised in Dorchester. Went to law school. And as a young lawyer, a friend of mine from Dorchester came to me. He was trying to buy a house in the Grove Hall area. It was actually on Maple Street. He was fighting with the city of Boston. He wanted to buy this house. It was boarded up. It was abandoned, but the city wouldn't sell him that house. He came to me as a young lawyer, and he asked me to help him get that house. I went to the city, wrote the city, fought with the city. The city finally decided to sell him that house. That's the kind of good trouble I caused. And even though he's not here with us anymore today, his children live in that house. His children are raising their children. His grandchildren live in the house. And one of the things early in my life I saw was how significant housing is. I believe that in Boston, we're in a housing crisis. When you look at gentrification, when you look at the cost of housing, when you look at the cost of rent, we're in a housing crisis. And we need to really begin to come up with solutions to deal with what's happening in our community. You know, I went to Capitol Hill, young man from Dorchester, chief of staff for a congresswoman. Then from there, I came home and took the job as regional counsel at HUD. And I was there for 27 years. I just left HUD in February. I was regional counsel for 27 years. And we did some things out of the box kind of things while I was at HUD. One of them was a demonstration disposition program that we had at HUD, that Washington allowed Boston to develop that program. Congress created the statute that would transfer ownership of our multifamily housing that we had in stock at the time to the tenants. So what HUD did was HUD tore down, a good example is Academy Homes. Academy Homes was torn down completely, built up brand new. HUD transferred it, and we prepared the actual documents to transfer Academy Home to the Tenants Association. We did the same thing with Canfield Gardens at the time. It's now Canfield Estates behind People's Baptist Church, demolished it, built it brand new, transferred ownership to the Tenants Organization. The apartments along Seaver Street, Franklin Park Apartments, same thing, renovated them, transferred ownership to the tenants. And believe it or not, this little kid from Dorchester was right in the middle of all of that, because we had to go around what they call the FAR, the Federal Acquisition Regulation. That's what all money flows through, all housing transfer has to go through with the federal. We wrote an opinion that allowed us to go around that, to transfer that department, those multifamily housing, to the Tenant Association. I sued the city of Boston, the Boston Housing Authority, for the discrimination and racism in South Boston and the public housing. I sued for the discrimination and racism in Charlestown. I did one closing in my entire career at HUD, and that was the merger between Boston University Hospital and City Hospital. You know, if you remember years ago, City Hospital was a place where folks really didn't want to go. It was tough for healthcare. Folks weren't getting healthcare. Boston University stepped in. We did the merger with Boston City Hospital and Boston University Hospital, and you now have the new great healthcare. And when you really think about some of the out-of-the-box things that we did at HUD, that I was involved in, that I oversaw, that we prepared all the work for, I'm ready to take on gentrification. I'm ready to step into the community. I'm ready to step into that state senate job. We did a lot of work with the youth over in the Humboldt area. We worked with Father Conley and those that were working up at Mount Bolden, because it's not as if violence just stayed over in the Humboldt area. The violence was all over the city. And so we were working with ministers, we were working with groups all over the city to help deal with all the violence. Now, it's not perfect, but it's a lot better than where it was. And so when I look at what we've done, out of that suit from the city of Boston, when we sued Boston Housing Authority, we developed a city rights protection plan. In the office with the city of Boston and Boston Housing Authority's attorney, that city rights protection plan went all over the country. They still use it today as a model of protecting the rights of tenants in public housing around the country. I could go on and on and on. I know my time is limited, but let me just say this. As one that grew up in Dorchester, as one that loved the Dorchester community, I have dedicated my entire life to making not just Dorchester, not just the Humboldt area, but the city of Boston better, improving the quality of life for folks. I believe that I can continue that work at the State House. I believe that Dorchester, when you look at Dorchester, the possibilities that Dorchester has, the potential is just amazing. Dorchester and this second Suffolk district is the biggest part of this district. And I know that we haven't done well in terms of folks getting out to vote in the different elections, but this election is going to be different. This election, we're going to get folks out to vote because I think it's important that folks are involved and that folks understand that they have a role and that they have an interest at stake, and together we can make a difference. I've been doing it all of my life. I would love to represent Dorchester as your state senator from the 2nd Suffolk District. I've been fighting all of my life. I will fight for you. I will work hard and make good trouble to fighting for housing justice, for affordable housing. We need to stabilize rents across the board, not just in one part of the city, but rents need to be stabilized so that folks can continue to live here. We need to fight for Section 8 folks can't afford to live here. They got moved to Brockton and Taunton. The Boston Foundation did that study with Suffolk University Law School that saw that Section 8 African-American tenants were being discriminated against. They can't use a Section 8. That's why they were moving to Brockton and Taunton and other parts of the city. Look, I will fight to end bias and redlining. I will fight to make housing more accessible to those that want to own housing. I believe housing is a right and not a privilege. And so I stand today running to cause good trouble at the State House to make sure we bring resources to Dorchester, to Mattapan, to Hyde Park, to Roxbury, to the South End, to Jamaica Plain, to Mission Hill. I stand ready to serve to be your next state senator from the 2nd Suffolk District.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Culpepper. We have a question here in the chat. Mike, did you want to ask your question? I can ask if not. Okay, there you go.
Yep. Yes. If you were elected, would you vote for a rent stabilization bill?
I think it's important that we do have some kind of rent stabilization, because what's happening now is the way the rents are skyrocketing, folks can't afford to live here. So they're moving outside of the city. And if we don't do something to try and stabilize rent, I remember as a youngster, there was rent control in the city of Boston. It allowed folks to afford to live here. I know there are other implications for rent stabilization, but Mike, I will vote for a rent stabilization bill, not just in the city of Boston, but across the board statewide.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Mr. Culpepper? Well,
Yes, I put a comment in there. Excuse me. I want to know, because you're doing some great, strong talking there. And I'd like to know, who do you have in the State House that will support you in this fight? Because you going in there by yourself, it's not going to be that strong. So who do you actually have that you're, locking arms with in the State House that will help you to push what we need to have done for the city?
I think you develop those coalitions based on some of the friendships that you develop. I do have some of the state senators now that are friends of mine. I don't want to put them out there like that, but I think what I've seen is that based on what you propose, based on what you're fighting for, there are those that will stand for the same issues with you, that will work with you to develop coalitions in the State House so that when you do have legislation, you can get that legislation passed. A good example is Senator Brooke was a Republican. But if you remember, Senator Brooke was the one that created Section 8. And how did he do it? He took the Appropriations Act, he added an amendment to the appropriations bill that was going through the Senate. Now, he was a Republican, and he proposed a Section 8. He added an amendment to it. And then once he added the amendment, he started working with his colleagues to develop support for it. As a result of that amendment. And that's why some folks call Section 8 program because of the Brooke Amendment. He developed coalitions to support that legislation. That legislation was passed. Many Democrats supported that legislation that was called the Brooke Amendment that created the Section 8 program. So I think you develop coalitions based on the issues that you stand for, the issues that you put forth. And Steve, one of the things that I will do different is that I will come to the different parts of the 2nd Suffolk District. I'm not going to come and say, I'm going to make this happen, I'm going to do this for you. I want to hear from people what their needs are. And I believe based on the needs that you hear from those in the district, you take those needs to the State House, you develop legislation based on the needs you hear, and then you develop the coalition to get that legislation passed to bring resources back to your district. I want to hear from the district so that I can be the state senator. I want to be the listening state senator so that I can take the needs that I hear from the district to the State House, develop the legislation, develop coalitions to get that legislation passed and bring resources back to the district. The other thing, Stephen, I'll close with that, is one of the things that does happen is there are many trade-offs in the State House. So I may have legislation that I need some support for, but someone else is going to have legislation that they want me to support. And so there are always coalitions being developed based on the legislation and issues that they're dealing with.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
for sharing, and thank you all for those questions. I'm sure you may have more, so I want to encourage you to chat with Mr. Culpepper using the chat, or maybe you can share your information, your website and your contact information with us. I want to say that I've had the privilege of seeing Mr. Culpepper's passion and dedication and vision up close. And so I'm happy that he was able to be here this evening to share that with all of you. But let's keep the conversation going. So put your information in the chat so we can do that. And I see that Brandon here from Youth Build, I don't know if this was for everyone, but he asked if, maybe it's for Mr. Culpepper, if you would recommend a student for Suffolk Law so that they can get a full scholarship. So chat with Brandon about that offline so you can figure that out. Is that right, Brandon? Did I ask that correctly?
I just meant in general what he recommended as a school, and I was asking for myself.
So I messed that completely up. Okay.
Not only would I recommend it, I graduated from there. I just taught the past year at Suffolk University Law School. Absolutely, I would. Look, if I will help you get in there. My son went to Suffolk University Law School. He's now working for the Department of Justice in Washington. And so, yeah, it's a great law school. Yeah, awesome. Do it. Go. Absolutely.
Keep the conversation going, Brandon. Hold him to it. If he said he would even help you. So do that.
Yes, sir.
I'll put my number in the chat so you can call me directly if you want. But I would say do it. Absolutely. I've hired, when I was regional counsel, I hired Suffolk University Law School. One of them is in Washington now, an associate general counsel at the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, came out of Suffolk University Law School. I hired in the regional office. She decided to go to Washington to work in Washington. She went to Washington. She's now an associate general counsel in the Washington office.
Wow, awesome.
I'll put my number in the chat for whoever else wants to call me.
And I see BJ's taking his LSAT in September. So a lot of future lawyers here. This is wonderful. So thank you so much, Mr. Culpepper. Please keep in touch. We're here and keep us posted on what takes place with your campaign. Moving along in the agenda, we are now going to hear from Theresa. She's going to be talking about the Boston's Community Choice Electricity Program. So I'm going to hand it off to her, and I'll make you a co-host so that you can share as well.
Thank you so much. So my name is Theresa. Thank you for having me and allowing me some time to talk to you all today. So I am the program manager for a program out of the city of Boston called Community Choice Electricity. So I'm just going to share my screen really quickly and just let me know if you can see that. Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Great. So what is Community Choice Electricity? I wanted to come and talk to you guys about it because a lot of people are actually enrolled in the program already. It is an auto enrollment program, but are not necessarily aware of what the program is and the differences between this supply program and others in the city. So community choice electricity is a municipal aggregation, which is just a fancy term for an electricity supply option created by the city for the city. So this actually started last February, in the city of Boston. We're one of over 150 in the state of Massachusetts. Boston, being the largest city, also has the largest aggregation. So when we started last year, we took over about 60% of the electricity supply load from Eversource Basic Service. And right now we're closer to about 70% of electricity accounts on our program. So just quickly about what the product looked like before, you could even be on Eversource Basic Service, or you could be on a private contract with what we call a third-party supplier, or a competitive electric supplier. They go by either name. With that, you don't necessarily have any negotiating power. You're subject to their terms and their conditions, their contracts, and things of that nature. With the municipal aggregation, we use the buying power of the entire city. That's over 320,000 electricity accounts to negotiate favorable rates and higher clean energy or renewable content. So previously you had one of two options. Again, it's Eversource Basic Service or signing a contract. But with the CCE starting last year, you had a third option, which you could join. It is an auto enrollment program. So if you do not opt out of the program, if you received a letter from us at any point in time, you were enrolled into the program. You can opt in or out at any point in time. There's no contract to you. The city takes all of the liability. We sign a contract with the supplier to provide the best rates that we can get for Boston residents and small businesses. Eversource will still maintain your account because they are the owners of the account. So they'll still send you your statements. They will still read your meters and things of that nature. So if you have any issues with like down electricity wires or anything, definitely call Eversource. Do not call us. But I can always answer questions that you may have about Eversource, third-party suppliers, or CCE. So we have 3 plans in the product, and one is the optional basic. That is our least expensive of the 3 plans, and that's at the state minimum for renewable content. Renewable content is just the amount of clean electricity. That is the least expensive, just under about 11 cents a kilowatt hour. We have our standard plan, which is the one we automatically enroll residents and small businesses into. That's at 10% cleaner electricity than the state minimum, so it comes in at 30%. It's a little bit more expensive than the basic by about $2.50 if you're an average user of about 600 kilowatt hours per month. And then we have our optional Green 100, which is 100% clean electricity, just under 14 cents a kilowatt hour. And our clean electricity comes from wind and solar sources. So we're asking that everybody that can consider opting up to the Green 100 to do so, but we understand that not everybody can. So that's why we made sure that we had a product that worked for every individual in the city of Boston. So why am I talking about CCE and what is Eversource in comparison to that and competitive electric suppliers? If you are currently on Eversource Basic Service, you may have noticed a considerable increase in your bill this past January and for the last few months. That's because Eversource's rates, which typically hover around somewhere between 9, 10, or 11 cents a kilowatt hour, increased significantly this January up to about 16 cents a kilowatt hour. And they're actually going to see another rise this coming July to almost about 18 cents a kilowatt hour. That is a significant increase that they've seen in maybe about 15 or 20 years. It's the highest that their rates have been. And it looks like that will actually continue over the next few years. Eversource changes their rates twice a year. So January 1 and July 1. So right now we're in what we call the winter period, which is January through June. And then July 1, the rates will change once again, and that will increase to about 18 cents. So I'm a visual person, and so this kind of thing works for me. So on the left-hand side, there are 3 rates there. Those are the 3 rates for Boston Community Choice Electricity. As you can tell, they are the least expensive when you take a look at CCE and then also Eversource. And then on the right-hand side, I put in what rates that one of the competitive electric suppliers that I've seen charge a resident are. So if you take a look at, let's say, the least expensive plan on CCE, which is our basic, and you compare that to the current Eversource rate, you could save about $30 per month. And that's at the rate right now. Once July 1st hits, you could be saving a lot more. It's closer to about $42 per month. Again, our rates are considerably less expensive, and two of our plans have higher, cleaner energy content. So if you're looking to save a little bit of money also and wanted to provide cleaner electricity to the city to reduce our carbon emissions, I would definitely say take a look at one of the two plans, which is the standard or the green 100, because you'll be good for not only the city, but also the environment in total, but also be saving money on a monthly basis. I do have to mention that we cannot guarantee savings according to the Department of Public Utilities, simply because in comparison to Eversource basic service that changes their rates twice a year, we don't know what their next 6 months will always be. So I do have to mention that. So competitive electric suppliers or third-party suppliers is another portion that I'd like to talk about, and that's because they're costing Boston residents, residents in general, but we live in Boston, right? So we're going to talk about Boston a considerable amount of money. Of the state in total in a 5-year period between 2015 and 2020, almost $430 million was lost to competitive electric suppliers. So that's money that residents were paying into their supply contract that they didn't have to. So they're still getting the same exact electricity, but they're paying more than if they would have they stayed on Eversource basic service. When we're looking on a local level, in just 1 month, Boston residents paid over $1 million than they would have if they stayed on basic service. Not everybody is targeted by these competitive electric suppliers. It's disproportionately targeted towards minority residents, so African American and Latino households, immigrant communities, the elderly, disabled communities, and low-income residents as well. So when you're just taking a look at the city as a whole, whether it's low income or you're looking at higher income residents, Dorchester is significantly targeted. It is the largest neighborhood, but the targeting is being done because we have a high population of Black and Brown residents, low income residents, residents that speak a second language or a third language in the home. So just looking at it on a graph level there, Dorchester, all 4 neighborhoods in the Dorchester area are significantly impacted. And if you compare that to, let's say, like South Boston, you can see the difference is pretty stark there. And regardless of if the person is on competitive electric supply or not, and their income does play a huge role there. Low-income residents are charged higher rates than residents who have a higher income that are signed to competitive suppliers. So that's costing residents hundreds more than their neighbor just down the street.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
You are really moving through these slides.
I'm sorry.
Really fast. I mean, every time I'm trying to read the slide, I'm trying to figure out what the slide is telling me. Okay. I know we're getting robbed, but I need you to just, can I at least be able to read them for a moment? Yes. You're telling us that by zip code, we're getting robbed worse because we're Black and brown and poor. But definitely, if you can move a little slower. Sorry to interrupt. That would
no problem. Sorry about that. Yes. So essentially, competitive electric suppliers are targeting Black and brown neighborhoods. Dorchester being the #1 neighborhood in the entire city that has the highest rate of residents signed to competitive electric supply contracts. So these are contracts that are necessarily they're pretty predatory because they're charging you guys higher rates. They're also signing you up without your knowledge in a lot of cases. They're coming to doors and marketing saying that they work for Eversource or they're part of Eversource and that they're going to save you money. What they don't tell you is that 9 times out of 10, you're going to be signed to an introductory rate, which is a low rate at the beginning and can significantly increase over time. So that's where the millions of dollars are being lost per year. And then again, in comparison to higher income residents, low income residents, Black and brown residents are being charged higher rates for those competitive electric supply contracts. That was
How do we fix this problem?
Yeah, so that's exactly why I wanted to come today. So community choice electricity is the option that I would strongly recommend, not just because that is a program that I manage, but because it is significantly less expensive than Eversource basic service. I will go back to the previous slide. again, my apologies for trying to breeze through this. So again, the three on the left-hand side are community choice electricity, so the rates are less expensive. And then the one all the way on the right is one of the highest rates that we've seen for competitive electric suppliers. It's not an outlier. I've seen quite a few of these rates being this high. Residents are spending hundreds of dollars being on competitive electric suppliers. So the one thing that I strongly recommend is reaching out to me, taking a look at your bill if you can beforehand and seeing who your supplier is. If it says billing for City of Boston CCE, you're on the program, you're likely on the standard plan. You can opt down to the basic one if you wanted to save a couple dollars. That's the one all the way on the left, or you can opt up to the green 100 if you wanted to have wanted to contribute and opt up to the 100% green clean energy plan. So one thing that I do is have 15-minute meetings with residents, whether that's virtual or over the phone. And I can take a look at your bill with you and see what plan you're on, what your rate is, what you're paying per month, and then we can kind of discuss what would be the best option for you moving forward.
And I see that Mike put in the chat that community choice electricity is a great way to get more green renewable energy into your home. And right now you could save money too, and it exists because Boston residents urge the city to adopt it. And then also, Mike mentioned that there is a bill in the state legislature that would ban these third-party scammers from operating in Massachusetts.
Correct. There is, we're hoping that it will pass. We don't know yet, of course. So if it does pass, it wouldn't necessarily affect the people who are already signed to third-party contracts now. It would just prevent them from signing people in the future, which would be a great win for us because we can do some of the legwork to remove some residents that are already signed to competitive supply contracts now. And when things like that do happen, a lot of suppliers tend to go out of business. It's not necessarily worth it for them to keep the customers that they currently have if they can't add more people to their roster. So that's another way that we would be able to get residents off of competitive supply. But in the meantime, doing presentations like this, going to Mayor's Coffee Hour, I will be at the next few coffee hours that the mayor is holding, talking about community choice electricity. Again, I am doing one-on-one meetings that residents can sign up for. And I'm just gonna go to that slide really quickly. Sorry. So this is my contact information. Again, my name is Theresa. I am the program manager for the account. I would strongly recommend kind of taking a look at your bill if you have the opportunity to do so, see who your supplier is, and then sign up for a 15-minute meeting with me. It is one-on-one. And even if you don't know what to look for, we can look at that if we do a presentation, a one-on-one meeting together. I think somebody has their hand raised.
Oh, great. Who has their hand raised? I can't see. Someone have a question?
Russell Holmes.
Oh, he's already been speaking. I will say that I have seen these people throughout the neighborhood. And
no, I do have my hand raised.
Oh, that is the hand raised. Okay, go ahead, Rep. Holmes.
I was trying to do it the right way and not just jump in. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Did everyone have to opt in or opt out? They had to opt out, right? Everyone went to the standard CCE already in the city unless they opted out, correct?
There's a couple ways that you wouldn't have been enrolled. So it is an auto enrollment program. So if you were on Eversource Basic Service and you had Eversource as your supplier, then you would have been enrolled if you did not have a block on your account. So some people put a block on their account because these competitive suppliers come to their door and they're scared that they're going to be signed up. So they'll call Eversource and say, hey, put a block on my account, which is great. In the past, that was wonderful because you're not going to be switched to a competitive supplier without your knowledge. But unfortunately, that also blocks residents from being switched to community choice electricity. So if you haven't been switched, if you take a look at your bill and it still says Eversource Basic Service, it's because either you or somebody in your home opted out when we sent you a letter that you would be automatically enrolled, or you have a block on your account. You can remove the block and enroll in the program at any point in time.
So any sense of how many people are actually in the city program. Is that 67, 60 or 70 or 80% of the city? I mean, I would
Yes.
think that we sent out something that we know how many people have already done the right thing.
Yes,
Do we
so
know that
we
percent?
have over 240,000 electricity accounts on the program. So that's residents and small businesses as well. And we're seeing more and more people opt up to the Green 100 every day. So we're doing a really great job, I think, reaching out to residents, but there's still a lot more work to do because a lot of residents, again, specifically in the Dorchester, Roxbury communities, are assigned to these competitive suppliers and they won't know about our program because we won't be able to do outreach to them because we don't get their information to do so.
Well, we really appreciate this presentation. We really have to share this information with our neighbors, participate in the coffee hours. I know that you and your team are interested in participating in the Codman Square Farmers Markets as well to meet residents where they're at. So that would be huge and beneficial. But let's keep this conversation going because I see these individuals throughout the neighborhood all the time.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. And feel free to come back because it seems like there's so much more to share. And Mike, thank you for assisting in coordinating having this presentation tonight because this is really important information. Moving along in the agenda, we have Youth Build Boston. I think Brandon's on.
Hey, Cynthia, can I just say something?
Of course.
While she's on the phone?
Yep.
Can they come to more community meetings? Because of the fact that I know this is a strong and well-attended meeting, but this is the information that needs to get out across the community. And having that 10 or 15 minute presentation, I'll be reaching out to her because I am sick and tired of my community getting robbed.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to share this. If you don't mind, Theresa, I was going to share this information with the other civic groups if they haven't had you present already. But it's really important to get the information out at all the ways that we can.
I would appreciate that. And I'm always happy to do a presentation, whether in person or virtual. So please do reach out.
Excellent. Thank you, Rep. Holmes. Thank you, Theresa. Moving along to Brandon from Youth Build Boston. He's with the Alumni Relations and Recruitment Team.
Hello, everyone. Good evening.
Good evening.
1 second. I'm just pulling up my. Are you able to activate the screen sharing?
Yes, you are a co-host. We are short on time, but we're going to get through it, you all. Go ahead. You're a co-host.
Okay, so can you guys see?
Not yet.
1 second. Can you see now?
Yes.
Okay. So our organization is Youth Build Boston. It was founded by Dorothy Stoneman in East Harlem back in 1978. She was a teacher and an organizer, and she asked her students, if they had a chance to change their community, what would they do? And the students said that they would rebuild the houses, take empty buildings back from drug dealers, and eliminate crime. And so basically, today, there are more than 275 Youth Build programs across the United States and around the world. To date, Youth Build has partnered with more than 180,000 young people and to dedicate over 50 million hours of service benefiting urban, rural, and tribal communities. So maybe a little bit about myself. I'm from Philadelphia. I just moved to Boston 3 months ago to take this role at Youth Build, also to go to school as well, which is why I asked that question earlier. I did not know about this program when I lived in Philly, but a lot of the things that we do to help the youth here in Boston are things that I was a part of back home. And so there's a lot of similarities as far as the problems we face with the young people, especially gun violence. There's a lot of similarities between what's going on in Philadelphia and urban communities and here. And so that's the reason why I feel like it was important for me to speak tonight to get the awareness out there as far as what Youth Build is actually doing. Okay, so Youth Build Boston was founded in 1990 with the goal of providing underdeserved young people with the support and credentials needed to successfully enter the building trades. Our mission is to empower and assist underdeserved young people from the Boston area with the essential social, vocational, academic, and life skills necessary to navigate a positive pathway to self-sufficiency and neighborhood responsibility. And if you can see this triangle to my right, it's basically the triangle of Youth Build Boston: empowering youth, impacting the industry, and strengthening neighborhoods. It's basically what we stand for. Now I'm going to talk about our programs. The most important program, and the one that is on my top priority list for recruitment, it starts June 13th, our next cohort. This program is called the BTE program. It stands for Building Trades and Exploration. And our famous slogan is Earn While You Learn. This program is for high school dropouts. So we serve from ages 16 to 24. And my goal is to try to reach them before the school year is out. You know, a lot of these young people are going to catch their first cases this summer if we don't find them once they leave the school system because they aren't graduating. You know, that's the literal reality of how dire this situation is. And I feel like, youth, I feel like Boston is doing a lot of things to assist the youth as far as getting rid of the distractions and negative things, like, for example, getting rid of menthol cigarettes and flavored tobacco and stuff like that. But we need to, those are things that they did in their idle time. And so we have to give them things to do. And so the BTE program will pay them to come get their high school diploma. We are no longer offering high sets. This is I guess a little older PowerPoint. We're actually offering high school diplomas now. We have a direct partnership with Penn Foster. And so, you know, some people might ask, well, why did we switch from offering GEDs or high sets or high school diplomas? We noticed the psychological benefits of students feeling proud about their accomplishments, you know, knowing that they have an actual diploma versus GED or high set, because of the negative connotations associated with that socially and professionally. So they get paid a biweekly stipend. They earn credentials such as a high school diploma, not a high set, OSHA 10 certification, first aid, CPR, NCCER certifications. For those who don't know, OSHA 10 and NCCER are two of the most important basic certs that you would need to go into the construction industry. And so they get these things. They also get financial literacy. Our students at Youth Build Boston take classes at Chase Bank for financial literacy, for example. They're learning everything from cybersecurity to assets and liabilities to stocks and bonds. The next program is the Designery program, which caters an age group 14 to 18. It's the perfect first job for high school students. During the school year, it's 14 to 18, and it's an after school job. In the summertime, it's strictly 16 to 18 because we have a different funder in the summertime. In the summer, they're going to be working a full-time job from about 8 a.m. to 2:30 to 3 p.m. That program starts July 5th, the next cohort, and it's centered around architecture and design. They're going to be training with licensed architects. If I was able to get the information out sooner, I could have got you guys info to the open house that passed at the end of May. The Boston Center of Architects, our designery students actually presented there. And so we held an open house for our program there. They learned design thinking, concept development, graphic representation, model making, how to read blueprints, etc. The last program, which is one of our most popular programs, is the PA program or the pre-apprenticeship program. This program is a direct pipeline to the unions in Boston. We have a very, very good relationship with all of the unions. Since I've been here for 3 months, I've helped about 4 different Youth Build alum actually get into the union. And so that shows me how real the partnership is. All the unions mention Youth Build at their info sessions each month when they tell candidates if they have a hard time applying to go through us or building pathways in order to assist them in gaining entry into the union. So this is a competitive program. That's the only difference between the other two. You need a high school diploma, ages 17 to 24. It's a 15-week program and a bi-weekly stipend. The same search that I mentioned in the BTE program, we offer as well as field training, life career skills, etc. Once you graduate, it's basically an automatic direct pipeline to the union. And we offer this as an alternative to college for high school graduates because college, number one, isn't for everyone. And number two, when you're trying to close in wealth gaps, union members make 100K and up as far as salaries go without the debt that any of us who have gone to college have. And so that's an advantage that, Black and brown people especially need to take more advantage of as far as, bringing awareness to those things. So those are the three main programs that we have. And just to reiterate, we have 3 cohorts that are starting soon. If you can spread that information to any families in all your districts, I will set up interviews ASAP, especially for our BTE program for the dropouts. Though that's the demographic I'm trying to reach the most. Through my recruitment efforts, I'm learning through the school district that Boston is actually losing students to the system in 8th grade. So their people are dropping out of middle school and not even coming to high school. And so this is something that we really need to kind of get, ahead of that curve with. And I believe if we show young people alternative professional, paths that they can take to actually creating a good life. A lot of people say, hey, young person, get off the street, you need a job, and then recommend McDonald's or, Starbucks or something like that. They're not putting them in a position to make 100K or more legally. This would get us ahead of all the drug dealers and people who are getting in the air telling them to do this, because I can guarantee you none of these guys on these corners are rolling out 100K or more plan for these young people, with security and benefits and stuff like that as well. And so these are the upcoming cohorts, and this is my contact information.
This is great.
Feel free to reach out. And the way you apply to our programs is you go to the website, you click on which program you would like to apply for, and you can actually apply for someone too. So you can apply for your nephew, your niece, your son, your daughter, etc. Click on the link and apply, and then one of us will respond to you in 24 hours. And due to my role, usually that person is me. Thank you very much for your time.
This is great. Thank you so much for your presentation. Make sure you take down his contact information and you spread the word, because Youth Build is doing some phenomenal things. Steve in the chat wants to know if Youth Build can be at the farmers market, because this is really important information we need to be sharing. Is that something that's possible?
What's the dates again? I could give you a direct answer right now.
Saturdays, July 16th through October 8th. I don't know when your next cohorts are or how it lines up, but you're more than welcome to participate in the conference.
Yes, I can definitely. I don't have anything on my calendar for those dates, so I can be there.
Wonderful. We have time for one question. We are short on time, but is there a question or a comment for Brandon? No? Well, you were very thorough and we really appreciate your presentation. Please put this information on the slide also in the chat so that we can access it easily.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I don't think Jose is on from the Department of Children and Families. I don't see him. I don't see him on here. And I received an update from Denise from the Mayor's Office of Neighborhood Services that she's attending the LGBTQ+ press conference at City Hall. So she's not on either, which means we can move right into State Representative Russell Holmes. Brandon, you don't mind to stop sharing your screen? Rep. Holmes, you're up.
All right, thank you. I'm going to begin with something really straightforward, and that is we've been hearing an awful lot about, you want to share your screen or no? There you go.
Here we go.
We've been hearing an awful lot about 2 things when it comes to the Norfolk Bridge, and I just want to make sure I communicate those things. One is the path or the steps that lead up to the bridge from below. Those steps have been in disrepair for a very, very long time. And I've advocated strongly with Rep. Fluka Oakley that we do some things because of the fact that obviously there's been a large organization around Rock and WANA and others just saying we need to do something about those bridges. And so this week I got a picture which I sent over to Nina of the before and after of the steps. So at least the steps have now been repaired. And Yasha said he couldn't get the capital funding to get all of the steps in a way that would be handicap ready. But if you go to those steps now that lead up to the Norfolk Bridge, you will see that they've been repaired, and at least we've gotten the handrails and the steps in good repair for us to get up and down those steps safely. Let's continue to stay on him about getting them to where a handicapped person can make them more accessible as well, but the immediate need was satisfied. The second thing was safety along the bridge. For those who are not familiar, obviously the bridge was built in 1987. And so it was built in a way that has the rail where if you're shorter or a child, you actually can't see if someone's on the back side of the bridge. It's a very short bridge, but Rock, WANA, and many folks in the neighborhood were bothered by the fact that if someone could get robbed or things of that nature. And so Rep. Luca Oakley and I put together some funding that we tried to get inside of the budget for $300,000 to come and put more cameras, to come and put some type of security button and the like. We didn't get $300,000, but we got $50,000, and certainly that's enough to at least come do some of the preliminary safety pieces that we think are important. There is a transportation bond bill moving with a climate change theme to it. We had a hearing today, and the bill that the governor proposed is somewhere in the neighborhood of a little more than $9 billion, 9.6 to be exact. And I am sure when that finally gets across our desk, we will be loading in all types of earmarks. And from my perspective, that's another place we might go about the bridge. Second thing, I know we're at time, and I'll make sure we stay on time, Cynthia. But thank you everyone for giving me my 5-10 minutes. There's, in addition to the Norfolk Bridge, we also have the Jones Ave Bridge, the overpass that goes over the commuter rail station. I've talked to Yasha about that as well. Yasha is the chief of streets for the city. These are both, even though they look like they're state responsibilities, both of these happen to be city. So even though it crosses over the commuter rail, which would make you think that it was going to be mine, is actually a city-owned bridge, that overpass. And just like those steps, even though they're connected to the bridge, it looks like Wilkie State is actually city. So Yasha has committed to come to some neighborhood meetings because of the fact that the bridge, that's the overpass at Jones Ave, he believes that's a very expensive repair to get done. And he wants to talk to the community about, is that really the right answer, or are there other solutions? I will do my best to get him here soon. I'm going to go first to the Woodrow Ave neighborhood meeting, but then I think it should get broader. And then finally, on legislative piece, just know that we did, I think I saw Rep. Elagato on the phone in the Zoom as well, but we in the Mass House, we passed legislation around what I talked to you guys about before, about driver's license, what's been dubbed the driver's license bill for undocumented immigrants or undocumented folks here in the state. We passed that with what we believe is a veto-proof majority. The governor did veto it. I do anticipate in the next week or two that the Senate and House will get those passed, and we will become the 17th state in the country to go on and make it so that folks who are undocumented can go through a process and get a driver's license. I certainly believe that if New York can do this and not have everything in the whole world fall apart, imagine how many undocumented folks are in New York. Massachusetts can absolutely do it as well. Thanks, and I know no questions tonight because we're at 8:30. Thanks, bye-bye.
We can take one question. Is there a pressing question for Rep. Holmes?
Thank you for doing a great job over there at Forest Hill Station.
Well, thank you, Steve, because you know how much people hated me when I was going through that. And let me just tell you, the person sitting next to me going through all those crazy meetings was Nika Elagato. She was working for Sonia, and we were going through all that craziness, and people were like, oh, this is the worst in the world. It's gonna be the new big dig. And now, Steve, people don't even remember that bridge even existed. It's amazing. Thank you, guys.
Mike also shared, thank you for the advocacy of the driver's license bill. You're getting a lot of praise this evening, Rep. Holmes.
Well,
I'm giving it out today. I feel giving today.
And I was surprised to get it from Steve. So you see, I responded to that real fast.
Oh,
Steve
gee.
Yeah,
being
he's
nice
having a
to
good
me,
night.
Well, you better record that one.
You know it. That's what I'm saying. All right, we'll let you go. It's 8:30. Thanks
Rip
so much,
Holmes,
everyone. I'll be here next
anything
month.
with regard to your campaign? Do you need any support from the community?
Well, I'm going to need a lot of support for the first time in 12 years. Obviously, someone made the ballot against me, so you'll see my signs popping up. But I'm going to tell you, I was hard on this today, and I'm adamant, and I'm going to say it again tomorrow. And I know it may offend people, but look, I've been in more than 2,500 community meetings, 2,500 of them. And as you know, I'm here every single month. I ain't never seen this dude at any meeting. Every month, I'm in every meeting, as you guys know. Now you want to show up, and now you want to be the voice of this community. Just know I'm going to advocate strongly for me to stay in this office, and I hope you guys totally support me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Rep Holmes. Okay, you guys know we meet the first Wednesday of the month, 7 to 8:30. We're still meeting via Zoom. If anything changes for July, you'll be the first to know. Otherwise, our meetings are posted on YouTube, so make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel and visit to see what you missed and share the information. Our very own Codman Square Health Center is doing COVID-19 testing and vaccinations. We are in a surge. No one is talking about it. So please stay safe and pay attention. If you guys don't
Cynthia,
know,
did Amy Winter have a question? I didn't know. I saw someone's hand go up. I didn't know.
Oh,
She had a
I
question for me.
was just giving you a thumbs up.
Oh, okay. Thanks. All right.
Thank you
Sorry.
so much
Have
for
a-
being here every month. It means so much to us.
Thank you, guys. Have a great one.
Thank you for sharing that, Amy, because I think we all feel the same way. Rep Holmes does not miss a meeting, no matter his circumstance. So we really appreciate it. So make sure if you need that resource, you go to the Codman Square Health Center. The annual Family Restoration Day will be taking place at Dr. Loesch Family Park on June 18th. So make sure you support this event. This group really supports families that have experienced loss. I know that they were super helpful for me when we lost our twins. So get involved and support. Are there any other announcements, news, anything?
Yes, quickly. Gospel in the Park this Saturday, the 4th, from 4 to 7 p.m. I put it in the chat, but I want to make sure people see that and hear about that. That's the Elmhurst Street Park, Gospel in the Park this Saturday at 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock.
I think I have that in here. Let me see. Yes, here it goes. Is this it?
Yep, that's it.
Go. And then there's also a part 2 for Dr. Loesch Family Park in September, but let's pay attention to June 4th, 4 to 7, Elmhurst Street. Thank you, Steve. Other announcements? Okay. So with that said, I want to thank you all for your time and attention. Please share this information with your friends, your family, your neighbors. We'll be here again, same time, same place next month. So thank you so much. Have a good night. Stay safe.